The crystalline halls of the Valtorian command ship hummed with an eerie silence as Captain Ryan Hale stood in the center of the observation deck, his hands casually tucked into his tactical vest. Around him, in a perfect circle, 10 of the most feared warriors in the Valtorian Empire held their positions. Each stood over 7 feet tall, their scaled armor gleaming under the violet light, plasma rifles trained on the lone human. General Kyreth Valon descended the command platform with deliberate grace, her elongated fingers tracing the railing as she approached. Her crimson eyes fixed on Hale with a mixture of curiosity and contempt. The general's reputation preceded her. 300 campaigns, 0 defeats, and a collection of species who had learned to fear the sound of her name whispered through the void. "Captain Hale," she began, her voice carrying the melodic yet sharp tone of her people. "You have led us on quite the chase across 4 systems. Your ship is disabled, your crew is captured, and now you stand alone, surrounded by my 10 elite." She gestured to the warriors encircling him. "These are not mere soldiers, human. Each has killed more of your kind than you have years of life." Ryan tilted his head slightly, a grin spreading across his face. His blue eyes sparkled with something Kyreth couldn't quite identify. Was it madness, defiance, or something far more dangerous? "Great," he said, rolling his shoulders. "I'm bored anyway." Kyreth's expression flickered with confusion. In all her centuries of warfare, she had never encountered a being who responded to certain death with such casual dismissiveness. She raised one clawed hand, signaling her warriors to hold their fire. "You jest in the face of annihilation?" she asked, stepping closer. "Your species is known for many things, Captain. Arrogance, recklessness. But I had not heard that humans were suicidal." Ryan's grin widened. "See, that's where everyone gets it wrong about us. We're not suicidal, General. We're just really, really good at improvising." Before Kyreth could respond, Hale moved. His hand shot to his belt, not for a weapon, but for a small metallic disc. He slammed it against the deck floor, and instantly, an electromagnetic pulse rippled outward in a sphere. The lights flickered. The warriors' advanced targeting systems went dark. Even Kyreth's neural implant stuttered for a fraction of a second. That fraction was all Ryan needed. He launched himself at the nearest warrior, ducking under the alien's panicked swing. Ryan's combat knife, crude by galactic standards, forged from old Earth steel, found the weak point between the warrior's chest plates. The Valtorian gasped, crumpling to the ground. 9 remained. The other warriors recovered quickly, their training overriding the shock of the EMP. They converged on Hale with practiced precision, plasma bolts searing through the air. But Ryan was already moving, using the fallen warrior's body as cover before rolling behind one of the deck support pillars. "Interesting," Kyreth observed from her elevated position, her initial surprise replaced with analytical interest. "Your electromagnetic device was well timed, but you are still 1 against 9, Captain. The mathematics are not in your favor." Ryan popped out from behind the pillar, grabbed a plasma rifle from the fallen warrior, and fired 3 quick shots. 2 warriors fell, their armor punctured by their own technology. He ducked back as return fire melted the edge of his cover. "Yeah, well," he called out, breathing hard but still somehow sounding amused. "Humans were never great at math anyway. We prefer creative problem-solving." He spotted the environmental controls across the deck. One well-placed shot, and the observation room's gravity plating would destabilize. It was risky. It would affect him too, but that was the point. Humans had evolved in Earth's 1G environment. These Valtorians, their homeworld's gravity was barely half that. Ryan took the shot. The gravity plates shrieked and failed. Everyone in the room suddenly experienced microgravity. The remaining 7 warriors, trained for decades in standard conditions, flailed as their massive armored bodies became liabilities. Ryan, who had spent 6 months on the Europa station, doing 0G combat drills for fun, pushed off the pillar with practiced ease. He flew through the air like a missile, colliding with 2 warriors and sending them spinning helplessly into the walls. His knife flashed again. 5 left. Kyreth watched in growing fascination as the human moved through her elite guard like a predator in its natural element. She had studied humans extensively, their history of warfare, their evolutionary advantages, their psychological profiles. But reading reports and witnessing it firsthand were vastly different experiences. Humans, she realized, were persistence hunters. They didn't need to be the strongest or the fastest. They just needed to outlast you, to adapt faster than you could respond, to turn your advantages into weaknesses. Ryan grabbed a warrior's helmet and used the momentum to redirect himself toward another, a swift kick to the Valtorian's knee joint, designed for high-gravity resistance but vulnerable from the side, and the warrior's leg bent at an unnatural angle. 4 left. The remaining warriors attempted to regroup, linking their armor's magnetic boots to the deck floor. Smart. But Ryan had anticipated this. He fired the plasma rifle at the deck itself, melting through the floor plating. Atmosphere began to hiss out into space, and the warriors were forced to choose between maintaining position and being sucked toward the breach. 3 chose poorly. 1 warrior remained, the largest of them all. She deactivated her magnetic boots and pushed off the floor, meeting Ryan in midair. They collided with brutal force, exchanging blows that would have shattered bones in lesser species. The warrior's scaled fist connected with Ryan's ribs, and he felt something crack. His return strike caught the warrior's jaw, and he heard the same. They grappled in the zero-gravity chaos, spinning through the observation deck like a violent ballet. Ryan's vision began to spot from lack of oxygen. The breach was pulling the atmosphere out faster than the emergency systems could compensate. But the warrior was struggling too, her movements becoming sluggish. With the last of his strength, Ryan maneuvered behind the warrior and applied a chokehold his old drill sergeant had taught him 20 years ago. The Valtorian thrashed, but Ryan held on, his muscles screaming in protest. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the warrior went limp. 0 remained. Emergency bulkheads slammed down, sealing the breach. Gravity slowly restored. Ryan collapsed, to his knees, gasping for air, blood trickling from his nose and mouth. Every part of his body hurt, but he was alive. And so was Kareth. The general stood on her platform, having watched the entire engagement without interference. Slowly, she began to clap, the sound echoing through the damaged observation deck. "Remarkable," she said, genuine admiration in her voice. "I have studied your species for years, Captain Hale, but I never truly understood until now. You humans don't fight to win. You fight because you cannot conceive of doing anything else." Ryan looked up at her, that infuriating grin returning to his bloodied face. "Yeah, well, like I said, I was bored." Kareth tilted her head, her crimson eyes studying him with new understanding. She touched a control on her wrist, and the doors to the observation deck opened. "You have earned something rare today, human. Your freedom. Take your crew and leave my ship. Tell your people what you have seen here." Ryan staggered to his feet, confused, but not about to question his fortune. "Just like that?" "Just like that," Kareth confirmed. "Because now I understand why the Galactic Council fears your species. It is not your technology or your numbers. It is your absolute refusal to accept the inevitable. That, Captain, is more terrifying than any weapon." As Ryan limped toward the exit, Kareth called out one last time. "Captain Hale?" He turned. "The next time we meet, I will bring 20 warriors." Ryan's grin widened despite the pain. "Then I'll be twice as entertained, General." The doors closed behind him, leaving Kareth alone with her fallen elite. She looked at the carnage, at the impossible victory one human had achieved, and she smiled. Humanity had just made a very dangerous enemy. Or perhaps, she thought, a very valuable ally. Only time would tell which.